Alright guys, the Rebuilder's Toolkit. This is a small toolkit that I have assembled for everyone who wants to get into rebuilding, if not already rebuilding. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open the case up for you guys and show you what's inside. So there are basically 7 items in here. Because I am a minimalist type of teacher, as an educator first, I cannot recommend things that you may or may not need. I can only within good conscience sell you guys things that I absolutely feel as if you need. Now there are multimeters and other kind of better ohm meters, inline meters, and other things like atomizer stands out there, which are all very nice luxury items, but they don't make you a better builder. These are the basic tools that will actually make you a better builder. So let's begin. The basic ohm meter, we will set this aside because everybody should already have one, and I already have a video on this one explaining how to use these things properly so that you get the maximum life out of them. So, moving on. I'm going to give you guys 2 spools of Canthal in here. There's a 28 gauge Canthal and a 30 gauge Canthal. Now, these are the 2 gauges of Canthals that's right in the middle of the spectrum. So, these are the 2 most common Canthals that you want to play with, so that from here, after you get good with using them, you could figure out like if you want to buy more of 28 and 30 gauge, or you want to move down on the spectrum and buy 26 and 24s, or you want to move further up in the spectrum and getting like 32s and 34s. So, you know, it's right in the middle for you guys to learn and play with and get good and figure out exactly what kind of vapor you want to be. So let's set this one aside. The other 2 items over here is going to be a flush cutter and a slip knot plier. Now, a slip joint plier. Sorry. The flush cutter over here is very important. When we first started rebuilding, many of us used nail clippers to remove excess Canthal from the different kinds of builds that we made. But the issue with this is that when you clamp down with a nail clipper, it clamps down perfectly. So what happens is that it breaks and it snaps the Canthal, and shrapnel goes flying all over the place. So basically, you have to be very careful of the shrapnel not getting into your eyes, or you have to wear goggles or something. Very uncomfortable and very unlikely that people are going to do so. So what happens is, instead, we'll use flush cutters. Flush cutters first can get in very closely within a pole to cut off the excess amount of Canthal. Also, the blades, they double over each other at the tip. So when using a flush cutter properly and using the tip to cut off the Canthal will bend and fold and break off, as opposed to snap and fly out. So basically, you don't have Canthal flying all over the place, and far less likely that you will need goggles in order to work with your builds. So flush cutters, much more superior than using nail clippers. Now, the slip joint pliers. Many people have asked me how come I didn't include needle nose pliers. Well, many times when you are building Canthals and you're wrapping your Canthal around a screwdriver, what you want to do is you want to grab your Canthal with your plier and then tug. Using needle nose pliers, you just have to be like a little bit more accurate, while using something with a wider mouth, you could just, you know, like just brainlessly grab it and then just pull, and you're not really going to miss. Furthermore, the slip joint allows you to adjust it for a much wider mouth. What is this for? Well, many times you're going to have pesky mods or different kind of atomizers that may or may not get stuck within screwing down to each other. And sometimes just having, you know, a slip joint plier around to help you release and tighten your mod, your switches, you know, sometimes maybe even the drip tip or something that's getting like just way too tight and stuck within each other, the slip joint plier can come much more handy than needle nose pliers can. Furthermore, I personally believe that everybody should be owning a super tool. Okay, it doesn't matter what kind of super tool you own. I personally have a wingman myself. You could use a sidekick, a wave. It doesn't have to be Leatherman. It could be a Gerber as well. But the point is that these normally come with needle nose pliers and all sorts of other tools that you may need when you're out and about. So definitely good to have with you. Definitely, you know, a staple carry along with like the rest of your tools. And that's why I haven't bothered to add another needle nose plier in here, because I don't feel as if you need, like, you know, tools upon tools that's more or less redundant on top of each other. Moving on. The precision screwdrivers. The precision screwdrivers in here is obviously what you will be using the most, because the screwdrivers will help you remove, take apart, put back together your coils, your atomizers, different things like that. Now, what's different about my set versus all the other different sets of precisions out there is that these will come with an extra pair of tweezers. Now, these tweezers aren't just normal tweezers, okay? The tweezers is that they do not fight the heat, and that's very, very important, because the purpose of these tweezers, other than to help you thread your wicks sometimes, basically what you want to do is that when you clamp down on your coils and then you torch them with your butane lighter, had you used something like a needle nose plier or, you know, this plier, okay, there's way too much metal over here. Okay, and what happens is that this metal counteracts as a heat sink and keeps the coil cool while you're trying to torch it and make it hot. So basically, it will still get hot, but you will need more butane in order to do so. While using a simple tweezer like this that doesn't fight the heat, once you clamp down on your coil and you turn on your lighter, it's going to glow red right away. Okay, so that's what's important about these. The ceramic tweezers, however, is not the tweezers that you would want to, you know, pinch your coils and do the heavier work with, because they're a lot more delicate. The ceramic tweezers is something that you want to work with very, very gently. So what is good about them? The good stuff is that many times when you build a coil that's already very tight amongst itself, you could go ahead and install it inside of your atomizer, whether it's a RBA or a RDA or a RTA, or it doesn't matter what it is. And then you could go ahead and fire the coil and then use the ceramic tweezers to go ahead and gently pinch the coil together so that it will heat up and then take form by itself without the use of any butane lighter. So many times, you know, depending on different builds where you don't need to waste any butane, then you could just go ahead and use your ceramic tweezers and then speed up your build much faster, as opposed to wrapping your coil, pinching it, torching it, then installing it. You could just go ahead and wrap your coil, install it, fire, pinch, and you're done. So those are the 7 items that I've included in your Rebuilder's Toolkit, and those are all the things that I believe that you will need. Now, as far as the case over here, the case, you may or may not receive the exact same case, because as mentioned before, the supplies are very, very limited. We've basically almost sold out of this model. If you do not receive this case, you will receive a comparable case, if not a better one. Thanks for watching, guys.